Hello.
Yeah, that's your
Yeah.
name.
Squirrels got me.
Big Jim.
Yeah.
Really cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
That's good that you think that of it, because that's what deer hunting typically is cold and fun.
Yesterday morning, I'm glassing up on the pass and I see these deer moving, and I'm like, ooh, there's deer moving. All of a sudden, I just see this person just head down, just hauling ass, wearing shorts and a t-shirt with a pack on. And I'm like, is that Tard? My dad always talks about floating through the woods like the autumn breeze.
So Robert's
when you're
the ghost, and that's
275
Tard.
pounds, I don't know how you do that, but
The Freightliner. It's just like a creeper. You're just kind of up in the corner watching what's going on down there.
yeah.
You know,
He's like,
he's up there slapping it, pissing all over everything.
is it warm yet?
How did you know the name of the actor?
That's right. I know.
Why'd you say his name?
Hervé Villechaize.
You know what pert near means.
If you know what pert near means and you live in America, you're a redneck too.
Welcome to the Log Talk Podcast, brought to you by Pert Near Outdoors.
It's that time of year. It's that time of year where we all need to be thinking about, do we have everything we need to hit the woods? Chances are you don't, and if you think you do, you probably could use some more. So how about you go over to thehuntworks.com and check out all the incredible products these guys are carrying. This is a great family, local store. Dan and Steve Dunnigan, a couple hardworking sumbitches. They are now carrying archery equipment, everything from bows to arrows to broadheads, quivers, you name it. So on top of all the great tree stands and box blinds that they're carrying, they're now a full-on archery dealer, and really recommend that you check these guys out for your next big purchase. Head over to thehuntworks.com to see what they've got for sale, or if you're local in the Rochester area, head on over to their store in East Rochester on Dispatch Drive and check them out. They are on social media, The Huntworks, and also online, like I said. And if you purchase anything online, you can use promo code FEEDIN'Em to get 5% off. And that's FEED, FEEDIN, INUM, 5% off. Feed 'em. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Pert Near Outdoors podcast. This is your host, Billy. And this week we've got Tyler from Hitting the Dream, another Western New York content creator here in the outdoor space, jumping on with us. Tyler had some success back in that early doe season with his trad archery equipment, so I wanted to get him on here to tell that story, and we ended up shooting the breeze about gear and thoughts and ideas for the upcoming season and expectations and things like that. So first time we've had Tyler on the podcast. I'm glad we did. We've been talking about doing it for a while and finally linked up and got it done. So hope you enjoy this chat here, and make sure to head over and check out what he's up to. He just posted a video of his archery kill with his trad equipment. He just posted that up on YouTube. I believe it was Wednesday night. So that is up there for your viewing pleasure over on YouTube. And he's on social media as well, Facebook and Instagram. So you know where to find him. Quick note on Pert Near gear. We've got the t-shirts and hoodies are in. I've got I basically just did a stock order, and based off of what we did with the Shedfest shirts the last 2 years, I kind of pared that down a little bit, but basically got a little bit of each size based on what our volumes typically are. So have seen some sales and had some stuff getting shipped out in the mail. So thank you all who have placed orders already. And if you'd like to check out what the shirts and hoodie look like, head over to pertnearoutdoors.com, and you can go to the store there. If you'd like to purchase directly through the store, you can do that. Or if you'd like to, oh boy, I feel a sneeze coming. Nope, it's not going to happen. If you want to buy it directly from me and meet up, we can do that as well to bypass the old website. We can do that. Be happy to do it, and might even cut you a little Pert Near discount. So keep that in mind. If you're local here and want to do that, happy to do it. So that's that. Hats should be in a couple weeks. I'm thinking maybe middle of October. Fingers crossed. I think hats are taking a little bit longer than the apparel side of it, so we should see them soon. But this weekend, tomorrow, opening day, I don't believe I will be attacking the woods this weekend, which is quite all right. And I'm trying to play the long game this year, and the weather is not looking wind-wise like something that I really want to push inwards to try to even kill a doe on the farm here. So I'm going to kind of hang back, I think, this weekend. And but any of you guys that are getting out there and going after it, best of luck to you. I hope you have success. And remember, be safe, wear your harness, check your tree stands. If you're bad like me, you haven't been in to do any of that work. So make sure you're wearing your lineman's belt and your tree harness, because your life is precious. And the last thing you need to do is have an accident happen and have your life change forever. So I've heard too many stories of that lately, and don't want to see some of you out there experience the same thing. So be safe and have fun. Have a great opening weekend. Enjoy the podcast. Fade 'em. How you doing, Tyler?
Good. How about you, man? It's been too long.
It has been too long. I don't know where time goes. It flies.
I keep following on your guys' stuff and talking to different people that know you guys and hearing, seeing all the fun stuff you've been doing. But, like you said, time flies. And if you're not at some little local event or something, it's like all of a sudden you don't even catch up with some people.
Seriously. Yeah, you and I finally had a chance to meet, what was that, last summer of 21 at the Tethered Teach and Train event. So it was great to get to meet you, and we've been interacting for a couple of years. You're also a fellow Western New York Buffalo guy, so definitely enjoy catching up on your content, and it's fun to see stuff that's local here. And I've been wanting to get you on. We've been talking about it for almost 2 years now, and I saw you had a pretty exciting hunt a couple weeks ago. So I was like, you know what, we got to just get this done. I got to get you on here and hear the story. So why don't you just introduce yourself real quick? Anybody doesn't know you from our podcast.
All right. My name is Tyler Skronsky. Like you said, I'm right from here in Western New York. I pretty much hunt. When it comes to big game stuff, I pretty much hunt Western New York through the Finger Lakes type of area. And obviously closer to home, just like most people. And then I do a lot of small game, waterfowl hunting, all that kind of stuff. But I really just like making content to share, start off with something to share with friends and family, because I got family from California, Pennsylvania, Illinois, all that kind of stuff. And kind of a passion of liking to be creative and wanting to share with them. I started videotaping my own hunts and stuff like that. And that's where we are now. I get to meet some cool people like you guys and talk hunting more often than not. And that's just the way I like it.
Yeah, it's fun. And that's the best part about social media by far, is that it gets to connect us and get to see what other people are doing locally, especially. So
definitely. Like I said, if you didn't know somebody, you would have never connected with them, and they could be right around the corner. Like some of the other guys, Eric and those guys. I mean, I hunt spots that are like a couple miles from them at times, or even the same areas. Never even knew the guys, but meeting everyone at Windy Brew and that time after, and connecting and hanging out, and it's cool. It's cool that there's some positive stuff that comes out of what can be negative sometimes.
Yeah, amen to that. Yeah, I see we got some people tuning in here, so thanks everybody for jumping on and listening to us live. And Tyler's going to jump into it. I want to hear the story. I want to hear the journey, because I think you probably have been working at this for a long time to run that arrow through that deer you did a few weeks ago. So I want to kind of hear what the run up was to it, maybe what your setup is, because I'm not real familiar with the trad life. So I'm curious kind of how you got into that, and then kind of how the hunt went.
Yeah, a little step by step, I guess. One thing that I will say is anyone who wants to see why I ended up wanting to hunt with a trad bow to any extent, if you type in Fred Bear deer drag, you'll see there's a picture, a black and white picture. It's in like some old Cabela's have them framed. Other places have it. It's like an iconic picture of Fred Bear with a recurve behind his back. And, because it doesn't have sights on it like our modern compounds, he's got the rack of the buck wrapped up into the recurve, and he's dragging it behind him with the rack and the recurve at the same time.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's a really cool picture. And that's just a picture that I remember seeing since I was a little kid. And, I never grew up. My grandfather, my dad, they hunted with recurves way back when, but it was kind of like we're bored of grouse hunting, so let's grab the bows and go out for an afternoon, just like most of that generation. They're mostly gun hunters, so that's when they really filled the freezer. But so I always saw that picture in different places and always wanted to get a recurve and try it. And then the blessing, I guess you could call it, of the pandemic finally gave me a reason to go out and buy one. So I found one off of a guy on Craigslist, bought that real cheap and just started practicing in the backyard because I wasn't, I didn't have work. We weren't going to work. So I was just shooting nonstop. And I really just took old compound arrows that I had. I bought vanes for it that I could shoot out of the trad bow. I started with feathers, fletched them up myself because I fletched my own compound arrows as is, and just kind of shot and convinced or I let myself be comfortable with the fact that there was no reason to tune the bow really because I sucked at shooting it as it is, so there was no reason to focus on something that I didn't even know if it was perfect because I knew that I wasn't doing everything perfect,
Right.
So I started practicing a lot, got really comfortable with that bow. Did some 3D shoots over there at Allied, just where we had the teach and train event. And then finally last year they opened up that bow or the doe only seasons in some of the Western New York units, which I figured was going to be the perfect opportunity to take out the recurve, because if that big buck came back by at 25 yards or in a tight spot, it didn't matter because I couldn't do anything about it. So
Right.
I don't need to go out, and I knew at some point I'd be able to fill tags if I had to. So there was no reason to go out with the shotgun early for me, because I knew farther down the line I'd be able to put something in the freezer. I was pretty confident. So I actually wasn't able to go out last year at all because it's only like a 10-day season, and I was in Nebraska hunting mule deer with my buddy. And so I didn't go out for it all last year. This year, didn't have any plans to go out west. And so I said, I'm 100% going out with the trad bow. Even if it's just 2 or 3 times, I'm going to try to figure it out. So I ended up buying actually a new trad bow about a month and a half ago, just a little bit heavier poundage. Talking to a lot of older guys and stuff like that on different Facebook groups, they said the 40-pound bow that I had, or 45, was, I think it's 45. They said that was totally fine. My arrow weight was fine, but it was so slow, I couldn't get my brain past that it was going to be enough to shoot through a deer.
Right.
Shoot 60, 70, 80-pound compounds, that blow through deer. It just didn't sound right to be shooting 45. So I got this one. It's 50 pounds. I got that off a gentleman that actually makes his own strings. So he built the brand. He buys used bows, puts new strings on them, silencers, etc. And I picked that up from him on that Facebook group that I was talking to multiple different gentlemen about, technique, what I should be looking for, how I should be learning how to shoot, all that, picking everybody's brains. So season came around, and I was able to score some permission property here in town that my cousin's father-in-law owns or something like that. And so I went there, I set up a ground blind, because I was like, all right, well, I've been practicing on the ground, this will be perfect. It'll be nice close quarters. I can probably move a little bit more. Well, I actually recorded both of these hunts, and I went out twice and got a doe on the second time. And if you watch the video, I'm like, all right, this is going to be perfect. I got a trail right in front of me. First deer that came in turned inside out and was saw that blind and did not like anything to do with it. And I've never actually hunted deer out of a blind. I've hunted turkey, and I put it out probably 4 or 5 days ahead of time. But when she saw that blind, I don't know if that was the first time she walked by, or maybe there was more scent there than I thought. I thought my wind was pretty good, but she turned inside out, ran off with her. There's probably 3 other does, I think, and the game was over at that point. So I pulled out of that set right away, and I was at work, and I'm looking at my schedule, and I'm saying, God, I don't really know if I'm gonna even have time to get out. I do some side work on the side to try to pay for all this stuff that we all do, and
Right.
finally had some free days because the weather wasn't as good. And buddy at work's talking to me. He's got, I think, 6-7 acres behind his house with ag all around it, and he's like, hey, were you saying I just wanted to shoot a doe? And I was like, yeah, I've been trying to get one with the recurve. I've been practicing a lot. And he's like, well, if you just want to shoot a doe, dude, I got 50, 60 of them that come out in my fields every night. And he's like, come and fill as many tags as you got, and I'll sign you if you want to. And I was like, all right, that's fine by me. So I show up there, and it's probably the shortest walk I've ever had to any deer stand. So what it was his house is kind of over here. There's a clover field here, and then timber up this side. And so he's telling me, right in the middle of it, there's a quad trail, and they pretty much come out somewhere in that area. He's like, I don't really watch them because I don't really deer hunt there that much. He has other property. And he's like, but somewhere around there, they always come out every night. I'm like, okay. So I throw all my gear together. I just grab my saddle, my platform, that's what I hunt out with the compound. So I was like, well, I'm not going to try to change anything up. Just stay comfortable. I walk out there, and it's like the typical worst case scenario. There's the quad trail, and then you can see all the little deer running out on the wood line. And I'm like, oh, geez, well, where do I even set up,
Yeah.
I end up deciding to set up pretty much over the top of the quad trail. And I walked in probably farther than I should. And I, not being kind of fresh and into season, I walked a little bit farther than I should. I said, don't be an idiot. These deer are going to cut. They're going to smell your ground scent. You're walking right where the dude just told you they walk out of. So I kind of backpedaled a little bit, found a better tree. I was able to obviously cut some stuff because it was private land. Got up the tree, got all set. And I decided actually to take I bring a field tip every time. And I will suggest that if anyone ever wants to try traditional archery and you're going to hunt from a tree stand, this is the best thing that's been for me, at least. So I always bring a field tip, and either at the very beginning of the hunt or the very end of the hunt, I pick something, whether I range it or not, and say like, okay, I want to shoot that leaf or that rotten stump. And it's something that's awesome that you can do with the trad bow. You're probably not going to do with your compound because you'll bury it into a root or just more energy. But I picked a blade of grass, and I took a practice shot at it. But I took it in my shot window. I took it far left because the deer were going to come from right to left. So I'm like, worst case scenario, who knows? Maybe she'll sniff the arrow, and that'll be my stopper, right? So I shot. I made close enough to the blade of grass to say, okay, my body mechanics are good. I can, because I shoot what's called split vision. So there's like aiming, then there's instinctives. When they say it's like throwing a baseball, you just draw it back and you're staring at what you want to hit, but you don't actually aim anything. Your body kind of does it. So split vision is when you're aware of where the tip of your arrow is pointed, but you are still focused on your target. So I'm in kind of like in my periphery, I'm aiming, but I am still more focused right on the kill zone of the deer. So like I said, shot broke, everything went good. I'm sitting there now, like clockwork. Here come the doe coming right down the trail. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be perfect. Two fawns come out first, and then there was 3 mature does behind them. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna take the first, perfectly broadside shot. I got 3 chances. They're all gonna walk out right here. Well, sure as it, the biggest doe walks right underneath me, but kind of behind me at the same time. So I can't get drawn on her, and I can't move. The other ones come right out on the main trail. So in the video that I took, it looks like I should shoot the doe, but I can't move because the other one's like 3 yards right underneath me. Those little finger trails that I was standing in the field staring at. Lo and behold, as I'm trying to get drawn, I'm about half drawn on this doe, and my buddy pulls back in his driveway from dropping his kids off at some play date or something like that, blow all the deer out of the place. What the heck, dude? So I'm texting. I'm like, dude, come on. You just messed it all up. I almost had one. We could have been drinking beers before the sun even went down. He's like, oh, just stay ready. They'll come back out. They do every night. So I'd actually seen a couple of them cross through the woods and go out to the clover in a different direction. And sure as shit, here they came. The 2 big does, and there might have been one of the fawns with them that time. I'm not sure if it was even the exact same group, because come to find out, there ended up being like 20 deer behind me and like 15 behind his house. Like he said, he was.
So all 50 of them were there.
Oh yeah, they just weren't like right where I was, but it worked out perfect. She ended up coming right up, and she kind of came. I don't know if she was kind of sniffing my ground scent or what, but sniffed a little bit right near where that arrow was. And in the video, you hear me try to stop her, but she was also kind of doing that like smart doe thing where they stop at the edge of the field and like, I'm going to look left and right first. So I don't know so much that I stopped her because she didn't really even turn and look at me. But I put it on her, and that 50-pound bow put it straight through her. Perfect pass through. Actually, just based on the angle, because it was like a 11, 12-yard shot. came in high on one lung, bottom of the other lung, and literally almost cut the heart rate in half. So it was,
Nice.
I'd like to say that's exactly where I was aiming for, but it ended up being just best case scenario, you know. And she ran off. I was really surprised because these are the broadheads that I was shooting. I actually happened to have them here on my desk. These are the broadheads that I was shooting, and they're actually just from, I get a lot of my stuff from Alabama Archery, just because I'm friends with the guys out this way. And
Okay.
in an old bin of like used stuff, it's in the corner there, just for if people are looking like, I don't have a stabilizer, you know, there's like $5 stabilizers in there and stuff like that.
Okay.
And these were in there for like $250. They're like, I wish I had the actual package from them. They're like from the 70s, you know.
That is so cool. Yeah.
So I took these and I literally just, I was putting them on a knife sharpener because I don't have one of those fancy, like the where it clips into it.
The jigs, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
have.
I got one of those, yeah.
I kept telling myself I should buy it, and then I just never did. And like I said, I guess it worked good enough because I got it sharp enough to blow right through her. But she didn't bleed for probably the first 20 yards. But I mean, it's only a 2-blade broadhead. You know, it's not like shooting a rage through something or whatever mechanical someone might shoot. But after that, she opened right up, and like I said, right where I heard her fall is right where she was laying. So it worked out perfect.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that. I was just super happy for you because it is such a huge accomplishment. You don't see a lot of young guys. You know, it is somewhat becoming hip to get into the trad stuff,
Definitely.
but you don't see a lot of young guys doing it. And that's a freaking hell of an accomplishment, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Now I'm struggling with it's weird because shooting the recurve in a way it feels similar to like going from the compound to the the shotgun or the rifle. It almost has that same feel of like having the recurve compared to the compound. Like they're both archery, but it's just a completely different feel. Your ranges shrink so much. I mean, so now I'm struggling with, do I take that out come our deer season opening up on Saturday? And now I have the struggle of what happens when they do walk by at 22, 23 yards, or do I bring the compound and try to
Well, it changes your scenario now. You've got a doe in the freezer, you've got meat, so you don't have to worry about, you know, that so much. Yeah. And now it's kind of cool because you have the confidence. You got that under your belt, so you know, like, you perfect shot on her. So like now you have that thought in your head that you can do it. So that's pretty cool.
And that's something I would definitely point out to people. If you have the opportunity, if these are Western New York people listening at all right now, or if you're in a different area where you have some other sort of opportunity, take opportunities like that to try new things. Whether you're a shot hunter and you want to go out bow hunting, you want to, you know, a friend of mine's dad always told me the only way to learn how to kill deer is to kill deer, you know. And it's, yeah. I went through the same thing a lot of young guys do or new hunters do, where it's like, I want to shoot the big buck the first time and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I passed on a lot of, you know, very respectable deer, especially for your first deer, to find to a point where I ended up shooting a doe with the bow and a doe with the shotgun all in 1 year. And then it was like, you start figuring out, because I mean, inside of passing on some deer, I also missed some deer because I didn't know how to kill a deer. You know, I completely apart, you know. And so the 1 year I ended up killing a doe and a doe, and then the year after that, these are actually that's the first one I ever got with the bow the next year, and then that was the first one I ever got with the gun the year after that. So
love it. Yeah, it
just starts it's take advantage of every outdoor you have, because if you love the outdoors, they're going to mean just as much whether it's 140 or it's your first deer, you know, a doe.
Yeah, the point you're making is so valuable, because I too fell into that same boat. I mean, I didn't start actually killing deer until my mid-20s. So, and I was hunting all the way up from 14 all the way to today. You know, I'm 34. So it's like I've been hunting for 20 years, and I didn't really start, I feel like, actually putting deer on the ground until 10 years ago. So it's like 10 years where I was just like waiting, just like you said, waiting for that big buck, that perfect opportunity. And I had lots of opportunities, and I was missing shots. I just didn't know how to do it. Really? So it's a proficiency thing. And like, I've got friends, Eric, you know, mutual friend of yours and I's, like, he's been on the struggle bus. I feel bad for him. Yeah. Because he's a relatively new hunter. He's had some success early on, but he's also had like just a kind of a roller coaster the last season, since last year and into the start of this year, where he's losing deer.
Yeah.
And I know the feeling. I've been there. It's not a place any hunter wants to be. It's the worst thing in the world to wound a deer and not recover it. But the only way to learn and to know is to do it, So like, I start talking to him, like he calls me up and he's picking my brain on what he's doing wrong. And I start explaining stuff to him, like, you're using a high power rifle. You're hunting on a small piece of private property. You don't want a rodeo. You got full foliage on. The ground's wet.
Right.
You don't want that deer to go anywhere. You have a high power rifle. Drop that thing right in his tracks. So you're either want to aim high shoulder, or I've become a big fan of neck and head.
Yeah.
When I've got the right opportunity, if I'm confident enough in my weapon to do that. But like, that came with time. Like I wasn't thinking that way when I was younger, and I'm not saying I'm perfect now, but like, I feel like I've gotten into a rhythm where I've got the confidence when I go on the field, like, I'm going to make it happen. And I think that's a huge piece. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but confidence is huge. And I'll be honest to tell you, like, I'm not there with the bow. I've had a couple good years with the bow, and then I like go through these slides where I like don't get anything. And I don't have, like, last year I didn't have a single shot opportunity with a bow, and I hunted more than I have in the past few years. And like, that kind of wears on you a little bit when you don't get that opportunity to run an arrow through one right off the bat.
Oh yeah.
It kind of wears on you.
Oh, definitely. I mean, even just, I'll work my way backwards from the stuff you just said, but like, one thing I figured out, it took me until probably 5 years ago. I mean, I'm just a little bit younger than you now, but I finally realized that the muzzleloader tag is a bow muzzleloader tag.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff I hunt in the southern tier, the one area that we hunt primarily, the one unit is a preference point for your first doe tag, and then no chance on the second one. So there'd be years that I wouldn't even get a tag, or my dad would get one and I wouldn't get one. And you don't want to shoot your either sex tag on a doe, at least not right off the jump, October 1st or something. Well, all of a sudden I figured out that you could use that other tag either late muzzleloader or during our bow season, because technically by the regulations, it's early bow season. That's why it designates that on the tag.
Right.
I think other than last year, because I already had a deer down from Nebraska, the 4 years prior to that, I try to fill the doe tag the first week every single year now. Just to, like I said, build up that confidence. Everything that you just did all summer, let it all come together. And then, sometimes you hate to act like a buck is a bigger deal than a doe or something like that. So I'm not going to get too far deep down into that, but it's like, you tend not to fall apart, especially if you shot a couple of deer, as bad on a doe that you do on a buck. So to get that under your belt, you're still trying to harvest an animal. You're still going to have jitters. You're still going to have to find that shot lane, but you're going to be able to slow it down in your brain, hopefully, and do that. And like you said, a lot of that comes with time too. And another thing to go along with that, it relates to deer hunting, but when we do a lot of duck hunting, me and my dad got into that probably 4 or 5 years ago. And when you're having a bad shooting spell, we always turn to each other and say, yeah, I'm just pushing it. It's like you're trying to throw the shot at him. Like, instead of just swinging through the bird and squeezing the trigger as you're coming through, you're like, hit him, die, fall, you're doing that kind of thing. And I think a lot of that happens when people fall into those funks too. And like, I say people, but I've been there myself. I'm not saying like I'm, don't get that, because I've been there and I've had that issue myself.
And it will happen again. Yeah, right.
Come back at some point. So knock on wood, it's not this year. But when you get to that point when you've missed, or you hit one in the shoulder, you did that, then the next one comes through. You're not feeling that like, oh, you're dead. You're feeling like, I hope you're dead. Please die. Please hit where I'm going to aim. Please hit right behind the pin. And then that's when you start to fall apart. So like you said, I think confidence is everything. I mean, I go into the woods every single time I go in the woods, I think I'm going to kill a deer. Now, whether I see a deer, who knows, but that confidence right there starts me off from the second I leave my truck, and I don't turn it off till I get back to the truck. And I think that's confidence, and taking every opportunity you can to become a better hunter are probably the two biggest things for a new hunter to try to wrap their brain around.
Yeah. And that's something I'm trying to work through personally, is like, and I'm going into this hunting season. October looks like it's going to be one of the busiest work months I've had in several years. So it's going to be challenging to get out. But like, there, you know as well as I do, and anybody else out there that hunts, like there are those days when you have confidence when you go out, or you're just like going out just to throw a sit at it because you think you have to, or you feel like you need to for the gram to go out there and post that you're in the tree for the day, just like everybody else is. And it's like, that's one thing. I know I was having a conversation with a friend today on the phone talking about like game plan, or should he get out this weekend or not, and it's like, I don't know, like I don't have anything inside of me that's telling me, like the wind's not telling me it's going to be the right day. The weather looks decent this weekend. Like it's not going to be 80 degrees. So the weather looks decent, but the wind isn't telling me that I need to be out there. And it's like, I'm kind of trying to not throw myself this season into situations where I'm out there just to be out there and not out there to kill. And if I'm going to be out there to be out there, I want to make it like I'm scouting, or I'm looking for something in particular, watching from afar. Like that's the sort of stuff I'm thinking about as I'm going into this season is when I'm going out to make it happen, because I don't want to hunt. I don't want to hunt as much as I hunted last year. I hunted my ass off last year, and I wasn't focused on work at times. I wasn't spending enough time at home with my wife and kids. And then it was just a rush every time I went out. So it's picking and choosing your times is definitely good. And living here in New York, you know, a lot of guys will complain that they've extended the seasons and they've done this with the early doe and this and that. I think it's outstanding personally, because we have a lot of deer here. I think the quality of the bucks is getting better and better, and we see this every single year between all the people we interact with, and you look on social media and there's just big bucks hitting the ground all season long at this point.
Right.
And it's just more opportunity. So I can look at my work schedule and say, you know what? I don't need to kill myself in the first 15 to 20 days of October, because I've got all of late muzzleloader, and then I've got the holiday hunt where I know that is like money time for me. It's quiet for work. Family is kind of quieted down a little bit. Your post holidays or before the holidays. It's awesome. Yeah. So I think it's like advice to people out there is like, we're about to hit season. Don't lose your brain, because you can waste a lot of time just trying to be in the tree all the time. You could be burning your spot, burning your points at home, you know, not spending time doing things you should be focused on.
Right.
And getting out there.
I can relate to that undoubtedly, because I can honestly say I think I've been to, and this is no joke, I think I've maybe been to a total 2, maybe 3 Halloween parties in my whole entire life. Like not in college, never went to one. And now I'm looking back and stuff, and I don't regret that, you know, like missing the college stuff, because I had my fun there too and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I start to think about it, and you, like you said, missing out on time with your family and like saying no to everything. Cause I'm always going to, you know, this is my hunting season. I only get these 3 months, or I only get this, whatever, is something that luckily I don't feel like I've missed out on something that like I'll never get back type of thing, but I also have, you know, it's like those might not seem like there was some major event that happened, but those are family moments that you'll never get back. So this year I actually am in a similar situation of being better at designating my time to my family and making sure that they know that they are that important to me, because it's one of those things, actions speak louder than words. I can tell them all the time that you mean the world to me, and like it's all that, yeah, but it's just my hunting, don't worry, I'll be back tonight, you know, that it doesn't mean that much if you're just back doing the opposite thing, even though you're saying the other thing. So I'm also in a similar boat where I probably won't be hunting as much as last year, but when I get out, make sure it's either some sort of beneficial thing. Maybe I have an hour to scout, so I'll go out and scout tonight, even though I know that I got dinner with my girlfriend, you know, because she doesn't get off work till whatever, instead of saying, no, we're not going to dinner because I got to go out and be out hunting. Well, I could just do a quick rip around. I got a little bit of private permission this year, some trail cameras out, you know, try to balance the life hunting balance and try to enjoy it a little bit more. And I laugh. I was telling my girlfriend, we go up to the Adirondacks every year in the summer, and every time we go up there to Saranac, like, we got to be fishing. We got to be fishing. We got to be fishing. Well, this year, we barely ever fished. The 3 times I went fishing, I caught 3 bass that were all over 3 pounds. Maybe, I think the one was almost 5 or a little over 5. And I was like, well, these are the 3 biggest fish I've caught in 4 years coming up here. And I fished the least because I focused on the mornings and I had the fun. You know, it's no different when deer hunting. Focus on the times that maybe either you're good at or, you know, are high opportunity times, whether it be a cold front if you can get out or the rut or something like that. and try to give that other time on those really hot 80-degree October days, instead of just saying I'm gonna go sit to say I'm sitting. Go to the apple farm with your family, or go pumpkin picking, because it means those memories are going to go much farther than that time that you told yourself I got to be in the woods, because everyone on Instagram's in the woods in October.
Right. Yeah. And everybody's hunting situation is different. Like
Sure.
T Wheels just commented on here. He said, swing hard early, then back off and pick your spots. And I agree with that. If I felt like I had, like, our particular property that I can hunt that's 5 minutes from the house here, all of the food we've strategically put all of the food out as close to the road as possible. So we're pulling the deer to us. Problem with that being the deer are feeding until sunup, and we have to walk our accesses through the food to get to the spots to hunt.
Gotcha.
So like that, like especially in early season archery, like we've got it surrounded with a Cuddy Link system. So we have a very good understanding of what's moving, what's coming and going. And it's like tonight, we had a buck show up on camera tonight in daylight. The deer, I don't know what was going on tonight, if it was this front passing through or whatever it was. And our cameras lit up from 5:30 and through till dark. I haven't looked at the pictures since 7:30, but
right.
we had a good buck that we believe we found the shed of last winter and hadn't seen him. He just showed up for the first time in daylight. And it's like, so I'm sitting here saying these things, but now, my mind's turning. It's like, okay, these deer are on their feet. Now, if we get to, that's the beauty of the cell cams, is that it's giving you live data. Like if the deer are moving the next 3 nights early, I might find myself sitting somewhere Saturday night, but
right.
you gotta be, when you're hunting, especially small piece of property, like you hunt a lot of public, like I do too.
Yeah.
And if you're hunting a small piece of property, it could even be a couple 100 acre, but if you're hunting a group of deer that you're going to be after them for 3 straight months, you got to approach that intelligently, especially if you're sharing that property with other people. It's not just your show, you're sharing that with other people. So it's that fun kind of dance that you have where you got to communicate with the guys you're hunting with, figure out what everybody else is doing, because you don't want to blow it up. But that's the beauty.
Right.
I know you hunt a bunch of public. Like I love hunting public for the fact that I don't care at all. Like if I've got the time and I want to hunt today, I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to go for it to kill. And there's no like reservations. I love that. That's what I love about hunting public.
Right. It's crazy how just different, I don't know if upbringing is probably not the right word, but just like the way you hunt, each person is a little bit different. That doe was the first deer that I killed in probably 10 years on private land. So I've only pretty much hunted public land just because we don't own anything, and I just never went and knocked on anybody's doors, and we just went where we went, and it was where it was. But now I'm in a different struggle of having this chunk of, I got 100 acres that I have permission right here in town. Literally
Nice.
6 minutes to where I park, and I can walk to the back of the property, in 10. It's not like it's just a big rectangle. And so now I struggle with it's private land. Nobody hunts here. I can just walk in there and I can just kill any deer that I want, because they're just going to walk right up to me, because I'm so used to it. I'm like, idiot, they're still deer. Like you can't just walk in there willy-nilly. I went and pulled cards the other day, and one of the biggest bucks I have on camera, standing there at 38 yards, he just stood up out of a bed right off of this oak flat, looked at me, and I was like, oh crap, it was downpouring rain, so he didn't really know what I was, but he ran, threw his tail up, and he was trying to sniff, and he threw his tail up again. I was like, you idiot, you do this 1-2 more times before season, because you think you can just walk through here and check cameras like you're going through a walk in the park. This deer's gonna be gone. Like he's not gonna handle that just because you're the only person going in there. He doesn't know what you are, So I'm struggling with it on the other side, trying to remind myself, hey, you still gotta think about what you're doing. You can't just say because you're the only person that now the deer is gonna walk up to you.
Right. Yeah. And we see it. It's interesting. Like just on our 2 pieces of like my family land over in Naples and my family land here out in Wyoming County, it's 2 completely different scenarios. Farmland out here, big woods up there. And our family's fairly active up in the big woods scenario. you know, they're up every weekend. My uncle's up there doing firewood all throughout the year. There's trees dropping, there's things going on. So they're pretty used to that. But it's a dramatic change as soon as deer season starts and we're driving up our trucks up the hill to the cabin. We're parked there. We're making noise at night. We're very present on the property, and the deer adjust to that. But you come out here, we're literally on the farm, you know, 365. I mean, we're not there every single day, but we're driving tractors, we're driving four-wheelers, we're running saws, the kids are out making noise. Yeah. So it's like, you know, we're watching these trail cameras, these cell cams, and Dallas will drive by on the tractor with the planter at 4:30 in the afternoon, and you're like, oh, what are you doing, Dallas? Like, it's, you know, it's prime afternoon. What are you doing out there? Yeah. And you know, he drives back by at 6:30, and then at, you know, 7 o'clock, there's deer piling out into the food plot. Like, they're used to us being there, you know? Oh, yeah. So it all depends. Like, everybody's situation is so much different depending on, and I've actually kind of turned, we were talking about this last week, Brian and Dallas and I, that, you know, it's hard to wrap your head around, but I almost think going into this season, like, I want to start driving my four-wheeler more to get closer to my stands rather than just walking everywhere, because they're just, like, it's not out of the ordinary for us just to be driving our four-wheelers around. And they always did it. They always, and Bob, the father, still does it. And he's shot huge bucks, and he'll drive his tractor sometimes. If the snow is asshole deep, he'll drive his tractor right out to the stand and park it there, and he'll go climb up in the tree stand and shoot a big buck, you know? And it's like, the deer are used to what the environment is of what they live in. And it's, I don't know. That's why it's fun. Every piece of property is different. Every scenario is different.
Yeah, it's actually just a quick story to that. Last year, the day before I killed my the day before I killed my archery buck, I went into a spot, ended up hunting, had a bunch of hunting pressure around me, had one guy that, for some reason, I've got no problem with crossbows. I don't even care if you had them all season long, but for some reason, people think when crossbow opens that they just want to, like, walk around like it's a shotgun. And so they're still hunting. Yeah, they're just walking, and I hear him from like 100 yards. I'm trying to get his attention. He walks around, pretty much walks everywhere other than right through the bedding, which I guess was the only blessing, or what I thought was the bedding, because it was big woods down the southern tier. He ends up walking, once he finally sees me, walks all the way back the loop that he came and leaves. And I kid you not, those deer had to have known that it must have been a local guy that they were used to watching, because as soon as he walked down, I heard a crack, and I looked up, 200 yards, here came two big does cresting right over the top of the ridge, looking at him. All of a sudden, it got quiet. The fawns came down. They came right down behind him. I'm like, now, isn't that something? You know, they had no idea I was there, but like, so used to the pressure. They're like, okay, well, we hear him. We know he's over there. We'll let him do a little lap that he does and walk with them. We'll come right down into that hickory, and we'll come down there and eat, and we'll do our thing for the rest of the night. But we know that he's there, so we're going to give it a minute, and we're going to watch him walk away. And I was like, now, is that not something?
That's hilarious. Yeah, and it's cool to physically witness that, because you know what happens. Oh, and, you know, I see it here, like in my backyard. I see deer, and they come out, and it's like, I know they must be bedded, like, right off of my lawn. Yeah. And they'll pop out, and they're eating apples, and the kids are screaming on the back deck, and they're eating apples 40 yards away. Mm-hmm. It's funny to see. So going back to, I'm curious what you're running for saddle gear, because I know we've got some guys I've got some friends that are newer into hunting and curious about the saddle stuff. So I haven't done a good job of breaking down gear as we move into this season, but I'm curious what you're running for saddle equipment.
Stuff, or you want like ground up quick?
What'd you say?
Do you want like ground up, or just like my specific saddle stuff?
Yeah, you just ground. I guess, what are you using for sticks and a platform?
Yeah, but I use so I guess they're trophy line double steps, but Novix makes them, or there's like a weird
relationship there. Yeah.
But I use the double steps, and I use something called a nader. If you type it in, it's KNAIDER for anyone that's interested. But it's basically a hook that comes right up by my knee, and then it loops underneath your foot. So it turns every double step into 3 steps. So that way I normally only take 3. When I'm hunting some of the more like farm country stuff around here, I tend to only take 3 steps. If I'm in the southern tier, I'll take 4, just in case like grade of hills or something forces me to have to go higher. So I use those steps, and then platform, I just use a tethered Predator platform, like the first gen one. I found it off some guy on Facebook. Saddle though, I run a Latitude Method saddle. They have a Method 2 now, which just has some upgrades, but I like that one because I used to be an arborist, so I used to wear a saddle all day just for different reasons. And those have like a back support and then a part that goes underneath your butt. And the Method by Latitude, it's a 2-panel saddle, so it just felt really comfortable for me to get into because I had the one kind of under my butt or legs and then the other piece up on my back. After that, I run 2 pouches on one on either side. And one thing that I've recommended to a lot of people that are looking to get into it is to think about what your dominant hand is. So I put stuff on my right pouch that is stuff that I want in the, like when I'm at the top of the tree, because it's, you don't have to think about it as much. You're going to work better with your dominant hand in the dark or whatever. So that's where I have my tether to go around the tree, a strap that holds my backpack, those kind of things, because I can work with one hand, unclip and grab it. Stuff that I need at the ground, like my nader and my lineman's belt, go on my left side because it's just a little bit more awkward, uncomfortable to grab, so I'm not in a weird position when I'm 10 to 20 feet up in the tree. And that's pretty much it. I try to keep it as simple as possible. I do run a full backpack, not like a super streamlined guy. I actually have one of the Baru 22 mag packs. Probably wouldn't even go that big if it wasn't for the fact that I either normally have to walk pretty far, so I'm the kind of guy that'll walk in a t-shirt and jeans, and pack everything I need into my backpack and have my backpack 40 pounds to keep it nice and like comfortable walking if I'm going up a mountain or a hill or whatever. But then I also film all my hunts, so all that stuff together, it just kind of makes a little bit more sense to have a bigger bag where I can stay more organized rather than just stuffing it, because I've done that before too, and then you're trying to pull stuff out and something else is falling out and hitting the ground, and it's just not worth it. So
yeah, it sounds like a pretty slick setup, and I like too that you're not using all just one thing. I think there's a lot of value to picking and choosing the components that work for you, and like there are so many when you get into the mobile hunting stuff, the equipment that's out there, like talking about those naders and swaders. I don't know what the hell a swader is, but there's all this stuff. And the guys, I'm on the field staff with Genesis 3D printing, and I'll be in these discussions with these guys, and I'm just like you. If I've got it and it works, I'm going to stick with it, because like there's no value. There is value. But to me, with my lifestyle, my schedule, my everything, if I find something that works, I'm going to run it, and I'm going to upgrade as I need to get something maybe a little bit better. But yeah, what you're doing and being basic like that, as far as what operates and not taking too much to the tree, I think there's a lot to go with that. And
being comfortable. If you can find stuff that you're comfortable in, like this is the first year that I've actually invested some money into camouflage, because I wore a bunch of hand-me-down stuff that I was super comfortable with. I knew how much stuff I needed to be wearing to be warm in the tree, and I knew how much stuff I needed to pack, and it just all kind of worked. But I finally decided that it was worth investing money in something I use a lot, because I do so much outdoor stuff that maybe I can lighten up my backpack instead of having to take 7 layers. I can bring, a nice soft shell, a puffy, and my base layer, wear it in, and I'm good to go, instead of, a Woolrich jacket or something like that. But
yeah, and that's why I always enjoy watching your footage, because you're always running some old school retro stuff. But there is, that's cool, but there's incredible value to some of this technical hunting clothing. I'm a huge fan. I mean, I can hunt in. I've used Sitka, and last year I used Forloh, and this year I'm going to try out this Origin hunt line, and I am just so in love with these high technical gear lines, because you can run the same stuff from the first day of season to the end of the season by just layering. And especially if you're a saddle hunter and you're a mobile hunter, like if you're wearing just big, those big heavy Cabela's insulated jackets and bibs, like that's not made for a mobile hunter, for somebody who's trying to climb a mountain, climb a tree with your saddle gear and then sit in it all day, you're done within an hour because you got so sweaty going up that you're shot. Everything's wet and you're done. And this technical clothing, I mean, you can go in the woods with 10 pounds of clothing, which seems, and probably not even 10 pounds, probably 5 pounds of clothing, and you'll be comfortable all day with the different downs and the synthetics and the merino wools, and you layer that up, and it's incredible. I'm curious, have you ever used boot blankets? Those little, what the hell are they?
Put them on and zip them up over your boots.
Yeah, I call them boot blankets.
Yes,
I will.
Without them. The polar.
Who makes those? Arctic Shield.
Arctic. I freaking love those things. My dad bought them like 3-4 years ago. He's like, dude, they're the best thing ever. I was like, no, they're not. He said he bought the upgraded set because now there's a different style that kind of are a little bit easier to get your boot into or something like that. He's like, I'm telling you, Ty, put them on your feet. As soon as you get set in your tree, put them on your feet. It'll keep the heat in. Your feet will be warm all day. I'm like, yeah, right. He goes, I'm telling you, put them on right away. Don't put them on when you get cold. Put them on right away, and your feet will be good all day. And lo and behold, they were. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. I hate boots. I wear a hiker or an insulated hiker. So that right there, that took it to the next level.
Yeah. I think if there's one piece of gear that people should invest in, if you have trouble, especially with your feet getting cold, is those Arctic Shield boot blankets. Oh, and I've heard people complain about the packability. It's like, they're not that big. Like, you can roll them up and stuff them into your backpack. You can put them in your pockets if you needed to. And they're pretty durable. Like, they're rough and tough. Like, I know there's some other like down ones out there that might be a bit more expensive, maybe lighter weight. Right. But like, if you catch them on something, it could be pretty easy for them to tear, But I've used those for several years now, and I'm a hiker guy too. I do wear rubber boots, but they have a purpose. I don't wear them if have any situation where I'm going to be hiking to go where I'm going to be, or I'm going to be mobile hunting, still hunting, anything. Yeah. Like, all these guys that run rubbers, it's, to me, like, my brother's a rubber guy. Like, he'll wear his lacrosse boots all season. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? It's like, have a nice pair of hiking boots, leather hiking boots, and have a set of gaiters. So if you've got moisture, you've got that to keep your legs dry. And then you just throw on your boot blankets wherever you're headed, and you're ready to rock. And
I think there's a time and place for everything. Like, some of these, like I said, they got that one property I talked about, and then I got a horse barn that I can hunt at and stuff like that. But a couple of them have like little ditch lines and stuff that I got to cross. And now I'm looking at it like, well, my walk's not as far. I know I'm going to have to interact with water at some point, whether I'm jumping over it or walking through it. There's going to be, so now maybe it isn't a bad idea to have a pair of nice rubbers that for that 100 to 250, 300 yard walk that I got to do relatively short, wear something that's going to be a little bit more conducive for what I'm dealing with, so now I've been looking into it for that reason. So like you said, there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I've got the regular old Field Blazer muck boots. I rock those all the time. Like, they're my go-to all year long, because you just slip them on and you can just run and gun with them. So if I'm just going to dick around in the yard or go to the farm to do something, like, I'm wearing those. Yeah. I wear rubbers. Safety's no accident. But I've also got a pair of the Cabela's, like, super heavy. I don't know what they are. They're 1,200 gram thin slate. Like, those are my, if you're going to hunt the farm and it's December and it's 5 degrees out and I don't have a walk and I'm just going and I'm hopping in a blind or climbing up a preset tree stand, like, yeah, I'm wearing those. But I'll wear the boot blankets over them too, because I have the same issues where if you're standing on a tree stand platform, if that thing's cold, it's going to radiate through whatever boots you're wearing. It doesn't matter how many thin slate they are.
And it seems like that rubber tends to, like, grab that cold more than the leather does. That's actually, I ended up getting them. So I'm wearing 1,000 grain thin slate rubber boots, and I can't even keep my feet warm. And I don't know if I was told him or if he was just looking for options, but he did that, and that was a game changer. So I'm right with you. I highly recommend, for the $30 to $50 they are, it's probably the best investment you're probably going to make if you plan on hunting anything outside of October.
I 100% agree. Do it. And you can take them to a Bills game if it's that cold out. I took them with me to the playoff game last year against the Patriots. I actually never wore them. but they were in my pocket.
Right.
They were there. They're that packable, folks. You could get through security.
With a couple of bats, your toes probably don't get too cold.
No. I believe it or not, I was drinking margaritas, and I've stayed on that train. Margaritas before a January playoff game.
Yeah, you're thinking warm.
Yeah, gets me happy, gets me warm, all of the above.
There you go.
We're going on about an hour. I wanted to cover some of that. I wanted to hear your saddle story. I wanted to hear your doe story and share that with everybody, and then talk a little bit about equipment and gear. And we'll have to get on again, kind of do a mid-season checkup. The last few years we've done the whole weekly updates with people if they have success and put one down. We kind of do our breeding and radio, and so we'll have to try to have you be a regular. We'll get you on here. I think I want to try to use Instagram a little bit more too during the season, because this is just super easy. I can hop on live and just call you up and we're on and rocking and rolling. So we'll probably be doing a little bit of this too as the season progresses.
Definitely. Yeah, I jumped on that one last year and was listening to some other guys talk about what they were hearing and seeing. Those are cool. So definitely probably enjoy those as much as I did.
Yeah. And when are you dropping your video? You want to give a plug for your stuff you've got on your social and on YouTube?
Yeah, so I don't use Facebook too much, but it would be the same as my Instagram here, Hitting the Dream, and then my YouTube is the same as well, Hitting the Dream. I actually just dropped the video before we got on. It was at 7 or 8 o'clock.
Nice.
Trad hunt. Both hunts. I went out, like I said, I went out twice. The blow up and that in the blind, and then the successful hunt later on, about 2 days later. So just dropped that on my YouTube. So if anyone liked it, just throw a comment in there. Let me know what you like, or let me know what you hated, because it's gotten to a point where other people watch my videos, not just my grandpa in Illinois. So I appreciate what you like about it and what people don't like about it, so I can try to make them better. So it would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Amen to that. Yeah. If it wasn't for family, I don't think anybody'd be paying attention. But this is what's kind of cool doing this too. Like I got to do a better job of engaging on social media with guys like you. We've got, crossover people that know about you but don't know about us, vice versa. So
yeah, so you're popping in, so that's good. Hopefully they're following you now and be watching all season. Yeah,
it's good stuff, man. So best of luck to you this weekend if you're going to get out there, and we'll stay in touch and hopefully catch up soon with another doe or a buck story.
Awesome, man. Stay safe out there.
All right, thanks, Tyler. Take it easy.